Hey, great day. Welcome to the House of Masket. House of Cons. I'm about to do it again. Welcome to the House of Cons, y'all. I'm Blackjack. Salute. It's Wednesday, June 14, 2023. I got a show lined up. We're talking about Cuba. Shout out to all the Nagas worldwide. We're in the stronghold of the Nagas, the Americas. Salute. And y'all hit that like, subscribe, share. Share the video to every Naga you know. Salute. And if you want to try up with me, go and get that membership for as low as $2.99 a month, my Naga. And you can support monetarily at the Cash App at the top of the screen, cash.app/$ House of Cons. Hey, salute the Mo Naga. Salute. And yeah, and you can check out the merch over there at www.strictlyformynagas.com. Salute. We got all kind of ways you can support. Just to name a few. But we about to get into the show. Show titled Native Tainos Enslaved in Cuba, Not Africans. And we're gonna revisit that intro thumbnail. Salute. Hey, let's observe this thumbnail from a third eye point of view, not a bird eye point of view. And y'all go ahead and hit that like if you're a real Naga. In the picture, we see depicted here is a Naga, of course. Salute. A native Naga. The image of the people that was enslaved in Cuba. And I'm gonna show you that it's a Taino, not an African. Salute. We dig on real history over here, not the fake stuff, not the garbage you was taught in school. We talk about the real, who was really enslaved. Yeah, we know the so-called quote-unquote blacks was enslaved, but were these blacks Africans or were they indigenous Americans? I think we know. Salute. So let's dig into it. I'm gonna show y'all where I got this image from. Let me pull it on up. Alright, y'all, check it out. We're gonna go to Google real quick. We're gonna jump right on into this. Ain't no sense in playing games. Jump right in it right away. You know what I'm saying? Face first. So we see the image over here that I use for the thumbnail right here, posted next to this search where it says Native Americans enslaved in Cuba. That's the search that was used. Native Americans enslaved in Cuba. Now I say the first organized system of slavery in Cuba was introduced by the Spanish Empire, which attacked and enslaved the island's indigenous Taino and Guanahatabe peoples on a grand scale. They was like, it was grand. Salute. Hold up, y'all. Pause for the cause. Hold up, pause for the call. We got Jacket Salah in the house. Salute. Pause for the cause. Tribe Butt, Jacket Salah in the house. Hey, y'all do me a favor. When the tribe come in the house, y'all put the arrows up in the chat for the tribe. You know what I'm saying? The bow and arrow up in chat. Salute Jacket Salah. Y'all put that arrow up in the chat for me. Salute to the sister. She got the star by her name. That means she a member, my Naga. Go on and get your membership. Hey, I had the special sound effect for when the tribe come in the house, but my soundboard acting up. I got to get that together. Salute. Hey, but we're gonna tribe up anyway. Salute, Sister Salah. Let's get back to the message at hand. All right, so it's telling you the first organized system on a grand scale of slavery was the Taino and the Guanahatabe peoples, and that's why I got this picture on the intro. You know, indigenous Taino, Guanahatabe. You know what I'm saying? Of Cuba. She's not an African. She's not even dressed like an African. So what? She's so-called black. Black people were all over the world. Salute. So let's get back to it. Now, before we go here, I'm gonna click on this slavery in Cuba deal. But before we go to slavery in Cuba, we see already who was getting enslaved on the grand scale: the native Tainos and Guanahatabis. We can start right there. We see they so-called Negro. We can start right there. But before we do, I want y'all to check out something else that's related. So this right here, if you look at the top, hold on, let me drag it down so you can see the source. It says slavery images. And this is from slaveryimages.org. It says Festival Havana, Cuba, 1847. Now in the description, it says this sketch of the 12th day festival, or Day of the Kings, as it is called in Havana, was taken by an English visitor to Havana on the 6th of January 1847 and sent to the Illustrated London News, which reports it represents an annual custom, a yearly custom, a kind of saturnalia permitted by the authorities to the slaves or Negroes of what they call nation. The slaves or Negroes of the nation. Now, they threw a disclaimer in right after that. Look, that is to say, those born in Africa. Why he had to put that is to say those born in Africa in there? Why could it say the Negroes of the nation? What they call the Negroes of the nation? He immediately threw his disclaimer. That is to say, those born in Africa. Yeah, right. I just wanted to point that out, man. They always throw they say, yeah, that is to say those born in Africa. Yeah. We got your disclaimer there for. Why you insinuating something? Why we can't just think for ourselves? It says the authorities, it's a kind of saturnalia permitted by the authorities to the slaves or the Negroes of what they call the nation. The Negroes of the nation, huh? That is to say, those born in Africa. Note, musical instruments and elaborate costumes representing different ethnic groups. Now, peep that. Why would they say elaborate costumes representing different ethnic groups? What would slaves know about costumes of different ethnic groups? They from what we was told, slaves wasn't even allowed to read or learn to read. So what would an African slave know about costumes of different ethnic groups? That's another disclaimer. Pay attention. I'm gonna show you why they got these disclaimers here after we blow this picture up. They got these disclaimers talking about representing different ethnic groups. They're talking about yeah, that's to say those born in Africa. Yeah, right. For a related illustration of this festival, see Image Album 8 on this website. For details on Havana's annual El Dia de Reyes Festival, see Daniel E. Walker, No More Slavery and Cultural Resistance in Havana and New Orleans. New Orleans, right? So we know when we talking Havana, we talking New Orleans, we talking the French, Spanish all up in there, right? We're talking American Indians, Negro Indians, right? So let's blow up the picture. Let's see why they got all these disclaimers. Oh, what a coinky dink. Feathered headdresses, huh, Managa? Oh, so they want to say, I see feathers all over the place. They want to say, oh yeah, they dress like different ethnic groups. What a coinky dink. And remember now, why they throwing up all these lies and disclaimers? Remember what we just read. The first organized systems of slavery in Cuba was introduced by the Spanish Empire, which attacked and enslaved the island's indigenous Taino and Guanahatabi peoples on a grand scale. Who got enslaved on a grand scale? The Taino and Guanahatabi. What did the Taino and Guanahatabi look like? Straight up Nagas. Salute. Wikipedia just showed you that. And we go right back here to this picture, 1847. We see indigenous Nagas, feathered headdresses, feathered loincloths, feathers all over the place. These are American Indians in Cuba. The Negroes in Cuba are not Afro-Cubans. They are indigenous Americans. All those black people in Cuba that you calling Afro-Cubans, they indigenous Tainos. They been there, and you know it. We're gonna go place to place, and we're gonna point out all you cracker lies. Yeah, these natives, these indigenous people, you call them slaves. Yeah, you enslaved the natives. But you got dancing with the devil in here in the picture. What you got going on? See feathers all over the place. Feather headdress, feather headdress. You got the nerve to call them Africans. Like, we ain't gonna blow this up. He got a quiver on. He got an arrow quiver on his back. That's the strap right there. Somebody got a crown on. I see hoop earrings. I see all sorts of evidence letting me know these is my people. Salute. This is our culture. These ain't no African. Salute. You can't fool me. You ain't gonna fool me none of the times. Crowns, huh? Crowns and hoop earrings. Feather headdress, feather headdress, feather headdress, feather headdress, feather headdress. He blowing the horn. Man, these people crazy with their lives, man. Let's continue. We ain't even got a foot in yet, and it's already exposed to their lives, my nigga. We ain't even got a foot in yet. I ain't even got to read about Cuba yet. They already got a foot in their lives, man. This is pathetic. And they tell you the same lies. It don't matter where it's at in the Americas. It don't matter where, it's the same old lie every time. Oh yeah, we brought Africans. But then we look at the real history. You enslaved Indians. It don't matter if it was in Cuba, it was in Suriname, it don't matter if it was in Haiti, it don't matter if it was in Jamaica. You was enslaving American Indian Negroes. You want to lie. You want to lie about it. You don't need to lie. You ain't think we was going to investigate this? That's what you thought? Y'all got to think, man. They tell us the same story. It don't matter if it's in Canada, it don't matter if it's in South America, it don't matter if it's the Caribbean Islands, it don't matter if it's the United States. They tell us the same thing. They brought African slaves over. Now, when you think about the amount of so-called black people in Canada, the so-called black people in the United States, so-called black people in South America, the so-called black people in the islands, when you think of all these people, how would they bring all these people over here? And if they brought this many people over here, would it be anybody left in Africa? They brought all you niggas over here from Canada all the way down to South America. It wouldn't be a naga left in Africa. What the hell is you can't believe the cracker that powerful. Ain't no way in hell he did that. And they tell you the same damn dumbass story no matter where you go. They remix that same story over. They re-rock that same story over and over. They get that water whip. Bullshit. I call bullshit. Let's get into this. Taino and Hatabi, who they truly enslaved, talking about African slave, gonna lie to us right in our face like that. Y'all, that's pathetic. Slavery in Cuba was a portion of the larger Atlantic slave trade. You still finna, now you just showed us Tainos and Guanasahabis, and you finna go right in here talking Atlantic slave trade. They can't be serious. That primarily supported Spanish plantation owners. How the Atlantic slave trade primarily supported Spanish plantation owners when you just told us the first organized system of slavery in Cuba was introduced by the Spanish Empire, which attacked and enslaved the island's indigenous Taino and Guanahatabi peoples on a grand scale. So why you gonna turn around and lie and say this and tell us the Atlantic slave trade at the same time? You're lying. The sugarcane trade, blah blah blah. This you could throw out the whole article after these lies. We're gonna eat the meat and spit out the bone. We're gonna pull the sword from the stone, Monaga. The first organized system of slavery in Cuba was introduced by the Spanish, attacked the Guanahatabi peoples on a grand scale. Cuba's original population was eventually almost destroyed completely. No way, you enslaved them. You enslaved them, and now you call them Afro-Cubans, partly due to this legal forced labor. Throughout the course of the 1500s, the remaining Taino intermixed with Europeans or African slaves, and no full-blood Taino remained. Yeah, right. Where is the record for your African slaves? You just told us the tribe, you told us the name of the tribes of the Indians that you enslaved, the indigenous Taino and Guanahatabi. You told us who did it, the Spanish Empire. You told us all of this. Where is your records for your so-called African slaves to try to explain these people being black and try to lie to us? You don't have them. They say Taino remain whatever. Following the Taino whatever genocide, these people ain't gone. We just look right at them. They ain't going nowhere. All these is lies. They talking about a paper genocide. They call you an Afro-Taino. They call you an Afro-Cuban now. You ain't a Taino no more. You an Afro-Cuban now. Well, forget what your grandmother told you. You an Afro-Taino. Your grandma told you she was a slave. She told you she had Indian in her family. You ain't know she was an Indian slave. You thought she was an African slave. You let them lie. They say Cuba became one of the world's largest sugarcane producers after the Haitian Revolution, Oh, what a coincidence! And continued to import enslaved Africans. Well, yeah, right. Where is your records of the enslaved Africans? You can't just say continue to import enslaved Africans. What date? From what part of Africa? Who imported them? What ship they came on? What war was fought? How many of them was it? Nothing. Let's get out the hijack. Now they say, look, the results had long-term repercussions. Cuba became the largest slave colony in all of Hispanic America, with the highest number of enslaved persons imported and the longest duration of the illegal slave trade. About 800,000 slaves were imported to Cuba, twice as many as those shipped to the United States. That's 800,000. That's more than twice. They said only 100,000 something came to the U.S. I think they math off. Let's look at what they're talking about. We know this hijack too. Captive face, displaced American Indians in the southwest borderlands, Mexico and Cuba, 1500, 1800. Oh, we got dates, we got lands, we got all these details when it comes to the American Indian being enslaved. This past May, the Department of History at the University of Texas at Austin awarded the Lathrop Prize for Best Dissertation to Paul Conrad, a PhD graduate in early American history. His dissertation titled Captive Face, Displaced American Indians in the Southwest Borderlands, Mexico and Cuba, 1500s to 1800s, 300 years, chronicles the history of Native Americans captured by European settlers in the greater Rio Grande River Basin. Abstract. Between 1500 and 1800, Spaniards and their native allies captured hundreds of Apache Indians and members of neighboring groups from the Rio Grande River Basin and subjected them to a variety of fates. They bought and sold some captives as slaves. Who were getting enslaved? Monogamous American Indians, not Africans. They had to be black, right? We know slavery is the black code, right? They're telling you who they was. Exiled others as prisoners of war to central Mexico and Cuba, and forcibly removed others to mines, towns, and haciendas as paid or unpaid laborers. Through warfare and captive exchange, the warfare and captive exchange predated the arrival of Europeans to North America. The 3 centuries following contact witnessed the development of new practices of violence and captivity in the North American West, fueled by Euro-Americans. Look, Euro-Americans. I ain't never saw that word, Euro-American. You say by Euro-Americans. Interest in native territory labor. What labor? African labor? No, native territory labor. On the one hand, and the dispersal of new technologies like horse. No, that ain't nothing new over here. Horses wasn't new here. That's bullshit. While at times subject to an enslavement and property status resembling chattel slavery, native peoples of the greater Rio Grande often experience captivities and forced migrations fueled more by the interests of empires and nation states in their territory and sovereignty than by markets and human labor. So they say, right? So we see who was getting enslaved. This man did a whole award-winning dissertation about who was really getting enslaved, right? Cuba and the United States and the Atlantic slave trade, slavery in Cuba. We looked at both of them. Let's go down. Cuba slavery documents collection. This set of documents relates to the institution of slavery, the slave trade, and the use of indentured servants in Cuba during the 19th century. During the 1800s, right? The 19th century. So they're talking the late part. Cuba participated heavily in the slave trade to obtain cheap labor for the sugar plantation beginning in the 16th century, beginning in the 1500s. So they just told us, we just read about all the Indians from the 1500s to the 1800s. We just read that. It's matching up, right? Let's see what it says, though. Cuba started officially participating in the slave trade in 1867, but the institution of slavery was not abolished on the island until 1886. The demand for cheap labor never abated, of course. The plantation owners sought other ways of obtaining workers, like lying, calling them Africans when they was American Indians. They followed the lead of the British and the French by switching to important contract laborers, indentured servants, called colonos, free people, either voluntarily or through coercion, signed a work contract that stipulated the terms of service and the pay they would receive. So it was an indenture. In theory, the colonos could leave the employ of their owners at the end of the terms of service, so they was indentured. But in practice, the conditions for the colonos were not much different than those endured by the slave population. So you see what's going on here? The majority of the colonos came from China. You big dummy. Taz CEO in the house. Salute Taz CEO. They say they came from China, Managa. They say that the majority of these colonial indentured servants came from China, and they say they wasn't much different than the slave population. They were slaves, Chinese coolies, but they also important. Now you see Chinese coolies. You wonder where these Eurasian so-called Native Americans come from. You're starting to see now. You're starting to see where the fake $5 hijack starting to come from. They put a feather on them and call them you. But they also imported people from the Canary Islands, Mexico, and they say Africa, right? Which we know is a lie. All these Negroes here, they ain't need nobody out of Africa. This collection contains, the only Africans came over here was colonizers. This collection contains official letters, death certificates, birth certificates, legal cases, work contracts, an autopsy report, and inventories relating to the institution of slavery, slaves, and indentured servants in Cuba. Many of the documents refer to the Chinese people brought to Cuba as indentured servants or contract laborers. So this tells us a whole different story. They just told us now in the beginning, they was on a grand scale slaving Tainos in the 1500s all the way through to the 300 years. Now they're saying here in the 1800s, they started saying, oh yeah, we'll bring these coolies in and all these other people, right? They ain't speak nothing of the Native American, and they spoke little of a so-called African. So it's a lot of deception when it comes to slavery in Cuba. We know that the indigenous people were slaves to conquer their land, but who else got brought in? You see, the Africans get brought in. No, Chinese people and all other kind of people. They ain't bringing no African in. Plenty of Nagas here. You got to read between the lines. From a third eye point of view, not a bird eye point of view. So, yeah, indigenous Tainos, Managa. Not no Africans, not no West Africa. They gave you no details. I saw nothing, no detail of a place in West Africa, no nothing, no date, no war, no tribes, no nothing. We getting tribe names, dates, and all over when it come out people. It's saying the 1500. They gave us 300 years. They said, yeah, the 1500 to the 1800s. Yeah, Tainos and the Guadalajara. Contradict themselves on another. Say, yeah, Africans. Right? Contradict themselves on another one and say, yeah, to tell you the truth, the only people we really brought was Chinese coolies. And the Nagas there, we call them Africans, but they really Tainos. And then we look, and don't forget in the beginning, we look right here at the Festival of Havana in Cuba, 1847. We told you the 12th day of the Day of Kings celebration. They lied, told you these were Africans celebrating. They say that is to say. And they even told you another disclaimer down here. They say yeah, they was representing different ethnic groups though. We blow the picture up and we see American Indians, we see Tamaricans. Feathers up, Managa, salute. Feathers up on everybody, Managa. Feathers up all in the background. Feathers up, Managa. Salute. Crab up. Hey, George Witcher the third in the house. Salute. The original copper, Empress Hobart in the house. Salute. Yeah, man, if y'all seen this image before, let me know in the chat, man. And then, alright, so this the Day of Kings down there in Havana. This from 1847, a depiction of it, an engraving of it that they made. showing they want to tell you nowadays they want to say African slaves, but we know these was American Indians. We see it. We see it. We saw the history of who they was really enslaving, the Tainos and the Guanahani. The picture lining up and matching right on up. I wish I could blow it up more, but this the most my computer gonna let me blow it up because they had it so small. They ain't want you to blow it up and see this. They had the picture so tiny. They thought the Naga was just gonna glance right over it, right? Who they thought we was over here? They thought we was glancing at stuff. They don't know we giving a thorough go over. And when you look up, and this all right, and let's connect some more dots. They're saying it's the festival, Havana, Cuba, 1847. The 12th day festival, a day of kings, as it is called in Havana. So it's the day of kings in Havana, the 12th day festival. All right, so let's dig on it. 12th day festival, or the day of kings, as it is called in Havana. The day of kings, as it is called in Havana. Day of kings. Let me see. Day of Kings, Havana. Let's see what we get. The lesser known carnival. They say it's lesser known. Nobody don't even know about it, so you know it's indigenous. Now let's see how they gonna lie about it. Who they show right away? The Naga. Salute. Man, y'all better start digging on real history, man. This ain't hard to tell, man. They can't hide you, Managa. They cannot hide you, Managa. They say, yeah, it's a lesser. Look at the sisters in the background. Is that sister crowned up and feathered up, Managa? What is that on her head? I wish I knew. Sisters all over the place, feathered up. Brothers in the background. I don't know who this guy is. He looks like he's sticking out like a sore thumb. No, he ain't supposed to be there. What is this? Oh, is that a pretender? I don't know. I don't know what all this junk here is. He looks phony to me. It's costume. You see the real ones, though. See the real ones. Lesser known carnival. There's Havana. Hey, Valiant Alpha in the house, salute. Valiant Alpha in the house, salute, Managa. The lesser known carnival in Havana, Three Kings Day in January. The Day of Kings, the Three Kings Day. They talking about the three magic, Managa. The three magic, salute. Who know about the three magic, Managa? Nah, I'm finna show y'all something. Peep game now. I'm finna show you how they lying. How they lying on this, talking about Africans, talking about this African. That's a lesser known Cuban festival. The Festival Havana, Cuba, that was in 1847. That was a lesser known festival. And they want to say Festival of Day of Kings, as it is called in Havana, was taken by the English visitor to Havana on the 6th of January, 1847. He sent it to the Illustrated London News, and he said it represented an annual custom. It was a yearly custom. They knew it back in 1847. They said it was a yearly custom. A kind of saturnalia permitted by the authorities to the slaves or Negroes of what they called the nation. Oh, disclaimer, that is to say Africa. Man, this is stupid, man. They gonna die. They think, man, I can't believe they think people this stupid, man. The lesser known carnival in Havana. Oh, that is to say Africa, Managa? Yeah, right. The challenge, learn how to conga. Man, I don't care about all that. Although it's not nearly as famous as the world-renowned Rio Carnival, Cuba has its own Rocker Street celebration with all the festivity and feasting of its Brazilian counterpart. If you happen to be in Havana on January 6th, Three Kings Day, or Dia de Reyes in Spanish, keep your ears alert for the sound of conga music echoing between the crumbling houses of old Havana. Nagas all over the place, Managa. We see who's doing this, Managa. It's the Nagas cultural. This is not African culture, Managa. I don't see no one in Africa looking like this. That sister have on pearls. It's that pearls, Managa. How it all started during the 16th century. Oh, the 1500s. Oh, what a coinky dink. We've been talking 1500s all this episode. Slaves from Africa were transported on ships. What part of Africa? What's the name of the ships? To work on the plantations in Cuba. That's a lie. They just told us. They just told us. Let's remind everybody. Anybody just showing up that the first organized system of slavery in Cuba was introduced by the Spanish Empire which attacked and enslaved the island's indigenous Taino and Guadalajara peoples on a grand scale, my naga. Negroes. Why they going to Africa if all these people over here that they enslaved on a grand scale? Don't go for these lies. I'll just keep going back to it. The more they lie. Oh, what a coinkydink. More feathers. Another picture with feathers on it. Yeah. Wow, what is this? I don't know. What you will see in here at the carnival. Congo music, blah blah blah. Okay, they ain't give you much on that one. Let's go back. I want to show y'all something. I just want to now we see what's it's called the Afro-Cuban. These people aren't Afro at all, you know what I'm saying? Havana times, Three Kings Day in Cuba. All right, let's do it like this. Let's put the history of the Day of Kings, of the Three Kings. History of what they call it down here. They call it Three Kings Day. History of Three Kings Day. Let's see what it goes back to. Show y'all what it is. I already know what I'm going to show y'all. Let's just do it. Let's just do it organically. History of Three Kings Day. Holiday history. According to the biblical history. Oh, what? The Old Testament? The three kings, also called wise men or magi. The three magi, named Melchior, Kappa, and Balthazar, followed the star of Bethlehem to find the birthplace. There wasn't no baby Jesus. That's hijacked. They presented the baby with gifts and gold, blah, blah, blah. The Epiphany, that's the other way they call it. The Day of Kings, the Three Kings Day. It's also called the Epiphany. Now, what's the history of it? Let's see. So they're saying those were African slaves in Cuba doing this, right? So the history should go back to Africa if that's true. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? The history, if those are African slaves and not American Indians, those Negroes of the nation that were celebrating the Day of Kings in Cuba in 1847, and they had been doing annually for eons, if they were from Africa, the history should go back to Africa. It does not, Managa. Look it up for yourself. I ain't gonna even read all these different ones. It does not go back and say though Three Kings Day originated in the Greek-speaking eastern half of the Roman Empire. That's hijacked. Don't believe that. What Roman Empire? The Romani? What y'all talking about? In America? Three Kings Day, January 6th. The observance has its origins in the Eastern Christian churches. And was they general what? Christian, or did they steal it from the Hebrews? Did they steal it from the Israelites? And then they put Zeus in the place of Kandawi? They put Zeus in the place of King David, Managa. Three Kings Day, a festive tradition in Spain, Puerto Rico, Mexico, and many Latin American countries. No, Africa, nowhere in sight, Managa. Africa is nowhere in sight. No history of Three Kings Day in Africa. So how could these be Africans, Managa? How? And we ain't gonna do nothing but keep connecting dots every time they lie. It's so easy to uncover the lies because the lies don't make sense. You can lie over and over again. Once you start lying, you gotta keep on telling lies because somebody like me gonna ask you a question. You talking about, hey, you telling me a lie, I'm gonna ask you a question, you gotta tell another lie. I'm gonna ask you another question, you gotta say another lie. And after you done lied a couple times, I'm gonna be like, man, this ain't adding up. It's gonna be easy to find out what's true, just picking through your lies. And I don't know why these people don't get this. It's 2023, and we still, our children still getting told the same false history in school. We got a bunch of morons running around the planet believing the false history, and the truth right is in front of your eyes. The truth right in front of your eyes, Managa. Y'all dig up this picture, slavery images, Festival of Havana, Cuba, 1847. Print it out, Managa. Give it to your children. Tell them to take it to school. Print it out large. Tell them to ask their teachers, how are these Africans? And catch them in the lie. When their teacher says, oh yeah, they brought them from Africa. Say, what part of Africa? They say, oh yeah. Say, oh okay, well then when did the Day of Kings was celebrated in Africa? Did it originate there? You already know the answers. The teacher gonna look like a damn jackass, man. Yeah, I mean, like, you're supposed to be the teacher, and I can walk right in your classroom and I can hit you with 4 or 5 questions that'll disrupt your whole lesson plan. and your American history. You want our people out here dancing with the devil. He's lying. I don't see an African anywhere in this picture. I don't see the cultural. I don't see anything cultural relating to an African anywhere in this picture. You can't say just because they black, they Africans. What are they wearing? They're not wearing African garb, Managa. We already looked at this. We know African garb when we see it. We studied it. All American Indians, Managa. And it's funny because none of them are pale. All of them are Negro. Not one pale-faced Indian on this picture.
Big dummy.
So where did the Chinese Eurasian coolies come from, huh? Where did the modern so-called Native Americans, where the $5 Indians come from, Managa? Where them $5 Cherokees on the Dawes Road, where they come from, Managa? It was an indentured servant, Managa. Or they came over in a human zoo at a World Fair exposition in the test tube. That's where they come from. That's where they originate, Managa. But in America, no, it's you. Hey, Tribe Buck. Hey, I'm Blackjack. This House of Cons, Managa. Hey, we gonna just keep telling it like it is. We gonna make them respect my house. Or we just gonna let the donut hit their ass where the Most High split their ass. And we up out this bitch, y'all. Peace. Salute. Peace, Tribe. Hey, I appreciate everybody for supporting. Salute. We out.
If it's war, then we pulling out the bows. Strictly for my knockers, represent the stronghold. Better put your shield up when my arrows unload. Let's get one thing straight, blackjack will never fold. If it's war, then we pulling out the bows. Strictly for my knockers, represent the stronghold. Better put your shield up when my arrows unload. Let's get one thing straight, blackjack will never fold. Feather in my hat, blackjack. Pull a dart from my back and lay a up out flat. American on my map when the trap hop out. Catch a colonizer lacking, we gon' rip off his scalp and pull his eyeballs out. Send them back where they came from. My knockers stay dangerous. Pack their ass on the ship and send them back to England. If it's war, my knockers then line up. Only real knockers slide with us. Let's Tribe up. If it's war, then we pulling out the bows. Strictly for my knockers, represent the stronghold. Better put your shield up when my arrows unload. Let's get one thing straight, blackjack will never fold. If it's war, then we pulling out the bows. Strictly for my knockers, represent the stronghold. Let them put your shield up when my arrows unload. Let's get one thing straight, blackjack will never fold. Solid gold, they goose, the black magic lump of gold. I was told they labeled you a savage. Strictly for my knockers to slaughter a Babylon. Pull a sword from the stone, my knocker, the House of Cons. Point out the pretenders, I bet you I make change. My any method necessary, I bring pain. And if you got your peace pipe with you, then fire up. Only real knockers ride with us, we Tribe up.